Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. On this podcast, I share my journey as a developing psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as an Akashic record practitioner, and anything else that's thrown my way. Hello, Middlers. Welcome back to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stephanie, and I am the Medium in the Middle, and this is episode 138. So last week, I shared with you all in episode 137 my thoughts and feedback on my first ever psychic reading. I thoroughly enjoyed it, if you didn't get that from the episode. But in this week's episode, we are going to talk the details of everything she told me. Ooh. So just know that this is for fun. In the same way that she told me a disclaimer, I'm going to say this. I am being open and vulnerable with you all, sharing what she told me about my life with you. So I want you to think about this as just sitting down with a coffee and a friend and having a fun conversation. Just know that you never need or should live your life based on what someone else tells you, whether they're an intuitive and a psychic, anything like that. It doesn't matter. You always have control over your life. And that's how I take this information, obviously with a grain of salt, but also I'm psychic. So I knew some of these things already. It was just really nice for them to be confirmed. And then anything that was new or that was kind of interesting, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not going to hold out for that to happen. It's just interesting and fun. Yeah, I wanted to say that disclaimer before I jump into this because if someone tells you something that you have to live your life that way, because there's still choice, and it's definitely like the energy of how things are. So very interesting, but lots of fun. There is 31 pages of notes. 31 pages of notes. I mean, they're not massive pages, but I went back and re-listened to the recording and I wrote down everything. And I'm going to share in this episode just like we were two friends sitting down for a coffee and you're like, what did the psychic say to you? And I'm going to spill the beans because I love hearing what psychics say to other people. I'm always so interested. Like, what do they say? Like, how'd they say it? So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Before we jump into this week's episode, I will share just a few announcements about September Reiki courses. They are officially launched and live. If you have been waiting to learn Reiki, if Reiki has been calling your name, if you want the gift of self-healing, I think everybody should take this course. The next Reiki Level 1 will be September 17th and 18th. And if you are a Reiki student already and you want to level up to Level 2, become a Reiki practitioner, work in Reiki, learn distance Reiki, the symbols, how to Reiki items, how to Reiki rooms, just the next step up. The next Level 2 will be September 24th and 25th. I will leave the links down below in the show notes to register for those two courses. And there will be no new podcast next week. I am going away to Vancouver for the week. But next week, Medium in the Middle turns 3. 3 years old. So probably when I come back, I'm going to be doing a big 3-year anniversary podcast. I'll be doing a bunch of stuff on Instagram. There will be giveaways. There will be celebrations. So if you're not already following me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle, my one and only account, stay in touch over there because it is going to be a very fun week next week. I can't believe I've been podcasting for 3 years, but I'm going to save that all for the next podcast episode. So no new episode next week, but we'll be back on August 17th. So let's jump right into this. We have a lot to cover. So again, my reading was with Denise of The Grateful Messenger. I really, really enjoyed it, but I also understand that everyone is going to enjoy different people. This isn't paid. This isn't sponsored. I didn't even tell her I was doing this podcast. When you find a good one, you have to share it. And again, it's like you guys are my friends. I'm in your ears. I'm always getting messages saying that you feel like you know me, and I understand the feeling. I also listen to other podcasters, and I feel like I know them. So this is one of those times where when you're chatting with a friend, you just got to give them the deets. So without further ado, let's jump in to everything that was said during the reading. So she started off by asking me kind of what I wanted or what the purpose of my reading was. And like I said in the last episode, I didn't really have one. I was more just doing it for market research. I was interested. I've never had a reading before. All of the synchronicities that led me to even booking that appointment. So she said, do I have questions? Did she want to do cards, mediumship? Kind of where did she want me to start? And like I said in the last episode, I said that I didn't really need mediumship, being a medium, and I had really no need to connect. And she said, did I have anything specific that I wanted to know about? And I was kind of like, no. So she's like, all right, let's just do the whole shebang. Let's just, intuitively start. Let's just go for it. And I was like, yeah, I kind of just want you to flow. She started by shuffling her cards, and she was asking for my highest and greatest good. Very typical saying of what you would say when you're shuffling cards for someone. And she's like, right out the gate, she's hearing a song, should I stay or should I go? And then I'm at like a crossroads. And she kind of just started really intuitively going. And I know I said this last episode, but she talked really fast. And I really like that. So she was just like, once you could tell her intuition was just like, and then she just went. So multiple times in the reading, she gave this example of a small kid with a small shirt and they've outgrown it. She's like, it's like a little kid wearing their favorite shirt and they've outgrown the shirt. So their little bellies are sticking out and it's like you've outgrown certain things in your life that you have to release. She's like, I'm hearing go big or go home and get ready to put yourself out there. And then she goes into, she's like, I'm seeing a stage. She's like, it's always the same stage. She's like, and I'm taking a breath. And then I see someone like push you onto the stage saying, go get out there. And she goes, the last like 3 to 5 years of your life, I can see they've been a roller coaster. I can see that they've been a lot of up and down, up and down. And she was just riffing, like she was just going. And then she paused and she's like, is any of this making sense? And I was like, oh yeah. And then she's like, okay. So then she just kept going. I really liked the way she like kept saying it feels like. I love when readers say that because it's just like, this is what it feels like, because it can be interpreted a few different ways. So then she goes into this kind of another analogy and she's like, I see you like throwing lifelines to everybody. She's like, you will help everybody. But she's like, now you have to kind of look at your life and be like, okay, what do I want for me? What is like the focus for me now? And she said that, she's like, how old are you? Like, you can't be like mid-30s. And I was like, yeah, I'm 32. And she was just like, yeah, but you're not energetically 32. She's like, you have your shit together. And she's like, I'm seeing a headset with a microphone on it. Like, it's your time to like speak. And I hadn't told her about the podcast at this point. I hadn't said anything. I literally hadn't said anything. So I was just sitting there like smiling. I was like, holy, this girl is good. Like the way that she just tuned into my energy right away had me like really glowing. Again, I had no expectations. I didn't think of what I wanted her to tell me. I didn't know what direction I wanted it to go. And when she started off and just got like those 10 things, like bam, 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 I was like, holy moly, this is going to be good. And that's when I talked about last episode where I tried to slow down time. At this point, I was like, why didn't I book an hour? Steph, you idiot. I should have paid for the time. And I was like, she's good. And this is going to be amazing. So then when she said the thing with the headset and the microphone, I laughed and I said, do you see my podcast getting sponsored? Because I realized that I could ask questions at this point. And she actually gave some very helpful tips that, again, doesn't have to be psychic information, but it was really good to kind of give me new insights. So she told me to look at it from a different strategy and think about it like a chessboard and what's my next move. And then she's like, are you hitting like the charts yet? Are you hitting like the top 100 or the top whatever in your region? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay, I see that coming for you soon. And then she starts talking about how she sees a world map and she sees clusters of my audience in certain areas. She's like, I feel like you have a strong presence in like certain areas, but you want to be worldwide. And I was like, yes, like I'm in Canada, I'm in the States, I'm in Australia pretty strongly, Europe a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of like these big clusters and then kind of sprinkled everywhere else. And she literally said that. And then she asked me if I was teaching classes, and I was like, yes. And then she started to throw some cards some more. So she was kind of like intuitively talking, and then she would pull a card and then kind of go off of what that card said. So she's like, you're getting ready. She's like, you're going in a different direction. And then she threw in a lot of like very nice and sweet things as she was going through. So she's like, there's a lot of hacks in our world. She's like, it's really nice to talk to someone so real and genuine. She's like, I can tell where your heart is. I can tell why you do this. She's like, I can tell that you're doing it of service. And she said, when that happens, Spirit will roll out the red carpet for you if you're doing this work in service and if you have the hard work ethic. And she's like, you have that. So she's like, be ready for Spirit to roll out that red carpet. And another interesting thing that happened multiple times in the reading is that her throat kept closing and she would go, she's like, oh, sorry. When that happens, that means that I need to say something. And this is something that I really need to reflect on because, I mean, I have a weekly podcast, so I say a lot, but it was interesting that it kept kind of happening. And then she's like, something specifically about speaking my truth in my voice. She's like, you've outgrown parts of your life. So this is like the shirt with the little kid with the shirt that's now too small. I was like really thinking like, is there something else I need to say? Is there something that I'm holding back? Is there something that I need to release? So again, the psychic reading also gave me a lot of things to kind of think about in that, is there something that I'm not seeing or not paying attention to? So I really, really liked that. So then she saw another image of a shell game and she's like, you're restructuring and you're redefining. She's like, when I see the shell game, it's like all the shells are moving around and you're changing things up. And she's like, you need to be patient. And if you know me, I have zero patience. She said, Spirit is building a beautiful, intricate dominoes game for you. And I want to rush over and just hit that first domino to get it going. And she's saying that Spirit's saying, just wait. We want to get this just right for you. She's like, it won't be too much longer. She's like, but they're setting up this dominoes. And then once that first one knocks over, it's just going to be like bam, 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 bam. And it was interesting because I mentioned this in last week's episode as well. When I can't see past a certain timeline, I know something's going to happen in my life, a shift or a change or something that I don't know about or that I shouldn't know about yet. And that's how I was feeling about September or October. I can't see past it. So like business-wise, I don't know what my next move is. I don't know what I should be planning or doing. Do I keep doing the same things? Do I offer something new? Like I've been just having these thoughts. So it's interesting, again, when the reading fell at the end of July, because she kind of was saying about timelines, and I was like, yeah, I like know all these things, but I just like can't see past a certain time. And then this lady went and said, I have a strong feeling for September or October. Is that when you are feeling it too? And I was like, yep. So that part really blew me away because I've never even said that out loud to anybody. But I had been thinking, like, I can't see past September, October. I can't see past that. And this happened twice last year where I couldn't see past a certain timeline and then something major happened. And when she was like, is this the timeline you're thinking? She's like, mid-September or October. I was like, holy cow, you are just spot on. You are it. Anyways, and then she went into kind of how I'm in this lull. I'm kind of doing the same things. What I'm doing is good, but, you know, a new direction would also be good, and I'm not sure what to do. And I really task analyze everything. And she was like, don't worry. She's like, Spirit will let you know what they want you to do. She's like, they always guide you. She's like, everything that you're doing is good. It's just like, you're like, do I keep doing this? Do I change? Do I shift? Do I add? Do I take away? Kind of this feeling of like, I can be doing more. Again, I've never told anyone that ever. These are just like things that I think in my head when I'm sitting at my desk till 11 p.m. being like, you know, do I launch more Reiki courses every single month? Do I keep doing the same type of sessions? Do I just keep relaunching mentees in the middle? Like, all these things are good and they're working and they're sold out and I'm busy, but it's like, do I create something new? Do I create something different? Is this good enough? Is this helping the collective? Is this what my audience wants and needs? Is this what the collective needs? So she was just like spot on with those feelings. I was like, holy moly. Then she goes into like, feel like you're very organized. I see file folders. I see like your month over month. I see you analyzing like percentages of like, I made 2% more than last year and all this stuff. And I was like, I literally do that. Like, I literally have these spreadsheets and I literally do my numbers. And she's like, that's just good business. So anyway, so then we kind of decided from there that we wanted to dive into kind of career and choices of what to focus on. So she started to ask for insight and energy and validation around specifically career. So at this point, we kind of decided to take the session in the career area. So the first two cards she pulled for that were the wish coming true and my younger self looking at my older self 5 years from now. She's like, if you were working in a restaurant right now, you're on the prep table. She's like, you're preparing, you're cutting your lettuce and tomatoes and your cucumbers. You're getting everything ready for, the line. And I was like, I used to work in a restaurant. I totally understand that reference. So, and then she got the King of Cups. She said, I know you want to talk about work, but the King of Cups is like feeling alive again, a loving relationship, making money that you deserve. She's like, you're ready to be bigger in your career. She's like, you're also breaking cycles. She's like, it's good that you're breaking these cycles now with relationships. You're not going to accept the same things again. You're not going to do the same things again. You know what you want. You know what you don't want. She was like, you're getting in the driver's seat and you're deciding where you're going. She's like, I know you didn't want to talk about relationships, but she's like, it's really good that you're doing this work at 32, not 42, 52, 62. She said, sometimes people wait so long to break these cycles, but you're doing it now. And I was like, yeah. She's like, this is the hard work. I was like, yeah. And then she's like, I know you didn't want to talk about relationships, but you wanted to talk about career. But I'm really feeling like a relationship is coming in. And then she asked, are you in a relationship? I said, no. She said, do you want a relationship? I said, I don't know. She said, do you like men, women, or both? I said, men. She's like, okay, because I'm sensing a man. And I was like, yes. And then she's like, I feel like you're a strong, independent woman. And then when men come around, they say they want that. And then they choke. She's like, you're strong, you're independent, you're vivacious. She's saying, I'm seeing like a Venn diagram of like, you are you, he is he. But then you have this overlap in the center. You're like keeping yourself and then you're meeting in the middle. And I was just like, hee hee. So anyway, so she's telling me about this Venn diagram. She's like, Spirit's saying you don't have to do a back bend. You don't have to bend over backwards for anyone. Don't try to make anything fit. And she's like, it's just going to come in when you're needed. She's like, someone's going to realize that you're more than beautiful. You're intelligent. You're kind. You're so much more than just the exterior. And again, another thing I have never told anybody, but I've been getting really angry the past few months when people have been saying like, oh, you're so pretty, or oh, you're beautiful, or like if a man compliments me if I'm out. And it's like this feeling of I'm more than just pretty. And I'm like, yes, I've stared at myself for 2 hours getting ready. I know my hair and makeup look nice today, but like, yes, I'm smart and I'm funny and I have a business and I'm responsible and I'm so much more. And it's just been like driving me nuts and I don't know why. So anyway, she just like hit it on the nose when she was like, you want someone to see you for like all your angles, not just one. She's like, I'm seeing a diamond. That means multifaceted. They want to see and honor each side of you without limiting who I could be, what they think I could be. She's like, you want them to love your soul. It doesn't want to feel shallow. And I'm looking for someone to kind of hold their own. And then she's like, you want someone that's going to be strong enough to be vulnerable and also safe enough to be vulnerable with. And I was just like, yeah, that's like exactly how I feel. It was just so crazy how spot on she was. Anyways, and then I briefly talked about this in last episode, but she's like, do I want a baby? She's like, I'm seeing a baby around you. And I was like, oh no. And she said, "Do you want a baby?" And I said, "No, no, no, no. Like, I don't want kids. Please don't see a baby for me." She's like, "Well, I see someone close to you having a baby." And then she said, a sister-in-law, or like a sister. I'm seeing a hair flip with her, and she has nails." And I instantly knew who she was talking about. I am in my cousin's wedding in a month. And I was like, "Yep, I know who you're talking about." And she was like, "I see a baby coming very soon." And I was like, I will tell her that because I know she's getting married in a month. So that means something's coming. Anyway, so then we kind of moved on from that. So she kind of jumped back to career now. The man was just like a side reference. And she said, "I'm seeing that you're ready for a new road. You're ready to raise the bar, and Spirit is raising the bar for you, not only in your work, but also with your boundaries." She's like, "You're setting really strong boundaries right now in your life with your friends, with your family." She's like, "It's like you're kicking your heels in the sand and finally drawing a line with people in your life." She said, "You're cutting puppet strings of manipulation." And I just started to laugh because I have been like cutting people out of my life or just being like, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I'm not taking that anymore. And it's just like, nope, like I don't need that in my life and I don't have to deal with it. And the fact that she brought that up was, again, another like huge thing because I was like, no one knows this really. Like, no one knows these like things. So that was another thing that she said that really blew my mind because when she said like kicking your heels in the sand and like even her example of cutting the puppet strings of manipulation, I was like, oh my gosh, are you in my mind? And I think I said that. I was like, are you in my head right now? Then she kind of talked about like, the energy of working with other people, kind of how that's feeling right now. She used the word emotional hail, which I thought was like such a beautiful analogy. And I was like, yes, like it is heavy right now. Like, yes, people are going through a lot right now. And she knows that because she works with the public and with energy. But it was just really interesting. Then she pulled a sun card and she said 22 out of the 78 are major cards. And I had gotten like 3 of them. And she was like, your life is good right now. Like, you have nothing to bitch about. Things are good, but you just like want more. You want the next step. You want to expand. And I was like, yeah. And then she's like, I keep getting like thumbs up, thumbs up. She's like, they're telling me to raise your prices, raise your prices. And then we talked about kind of like raising prices. And I was like, I really don't want to. And she was like, I'm seeing like a membership or a Patreon. Again, in my mind, I have been thinking about these things and I was like, holy cow. She's like, you want passive income. She's like, you want to like more money, but you don't want more hours. And then I was like, yes, like everyone wants that. But like, I absolutely am maxed out with hours. So if I want to continue to grow, I obviously need to stop trading time for money. And then I was like, holy cow, are you in my head? And she was like, isn't it kind of creepy when 2 people like us get together? And I was just like, this is so interesting how specific and how, yeah, just the things she was saying were blowing my mind. And she was like, you don't have to swim against the current. She's like, I just see like a piece of clay and you're reworking it. You're just changing things. She's like, I'm seeing work-life balance. She's like, they keep showing me a schedule and you're like trying to change up your work week. And again, yes, I am. I've just started taking a day off, as you guys know. But I'm also thinking like 2 days off a week would be nice. I see you blocking time off to go do other things. And I was like, yes, I literally just booked next week off, and I didn't have any plans at the time of this reading. I'm now going to Vancouver, but again, it was also just, how do you know that I blocked time off? Just to like, I just knew I needed time off. And she was like, you need to like rest and rebalance. She's like, remember, you don't have to be everything for everybody. And I was like, ooh, that's a good line. And she's like, I'm seeing balance. I'm seeing like a Libra sign. And earlier I had told her I was a Capricorn because I'm a Libra, double Capricorn. And I was like, that's funny that you're saying the balance sign in Libra because I'm a Libra. And she's like, oh, I thought you said you were a Capricorn. And I was like, well, no, I'm a Libra. And then she's like, oh. She pulled another card, transition card, 4 of Swords. She's like, you're getting centered. You're building these new foundations. you're getting ready to take the business to the next level. And this is when she starts talking about, she's like, where are you traveling to? Where are you going? She's like, I'm seeing a passport being waived and 2 tickets. She's like, you're needing and wanting to travel. And I was like, yes. I had this thing again next week is booked off. And she started talking to her. She's like, where do you live? And I was like, Banff, Alberta. She's like, oh, yes, good. She's like, you found your home. You found your sweet spot. You found your roots. You found where you're supposed to be. And I was like, yes, like, that's what Banff is to me. And she started going off about how, like, I'm meant to be in Banff and all of these things. And I was like, yes, I know. Like, it was just so cool, the things she was saying. Again, articulating, like, my feelings about things. She's like, it fits like a glove. It's just like where you're supposed to be. She's like, you just have the freedom to be who you really are here. She's like, it feels wonderful. I was like, it is wonderful. And she's like, not that you couldn't be who you are anywhere else. She's like, but it's just easier there. She's like, I just feel like your life flows. And I was like, yes, like my life is the best here. Like I love everything about it. And then my grandpa came through, which was really cool because my grandpa is actually someone that I can get the least often. So I have a very hard time getting him to come through. He doesn't come through very often. So when she started talking about, she's like, oh, this man's coming through. She's like, he's worker hands. She started to describe him. And I was like, yep, that's my grandpa. And then she's like, he's bringing you this man. She's like, I'm sorry I keep talking about this. She's like, you said you didn't want to talk about relationships. She's like, but this man, this male energy is close to you. She's like, your grandpa's bringing him. And then she got into like details about this man that's coming. She's like, he's 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. She's like, we'll give it a 2-inch window. He's lean. He's easygoing. He has a big smile. He's a nice guy. Exactly what I deserve. And then she's like, do you prefer taller men? She's like, how tall are you? And I was like, I'm 5'7". And I was like, again, interesting because I've had multiple psychics of my friends be like, Steph, he's going to be shorter than you wish. And it's funny because I always, 6'4" is my favorite height. I've dated someone who was 6'7", which was amazing. But they keep saying like he's shorter than you wish. And I was like, okay, is that like 6'2"? So when she was saying like 5'11", 6 foot, again, just so specific that shorter than I would like, I was like laughing because I was like, I've had so many people tell me that. And then for her to ask me if I prefer taller men and tell me that this guy's only going to be 6 foot. Not only, but you know what I mean? Like you're not 6'7". And also she like kept mentioning that he was a nice guy. And again, this could be seen as very generic, like, oh, a nice guy is coming your way. But if you know me, I don't like nice guys. I am not attracted to nice guys. They're like not my thing. Or like nice guys are just not my jam. I like someone a little spicy, a little edgy. I like usually the asshole type of guys. I'm very cut and dry. I appreciate other people who are cut and dry. So when she kept saying he's a nice guy, I was like rolling my eyes. And I was like, of course I'm going to be with a short, nice guy. Jokes, not short. But like, of course you're telling me this because that's not what I would normally go for, you know? So it was like really interesting, like even something that could have been seen as like generic, that's not my normal go-to. So she went back and talked about my grandfather a little bit more. She pulled through some more validation about like who he was, some memories. She talked about him a little bit, which was really cool. And she's like, there's not English in my mouth. And I was like, yes, like he spoke Lebanese. And then she started talking about kind of the origin of my gifts and mediumship and things like that. And she was like, oh, I'm seeing this on his side. And I was like, oh, interesting, because I was always told it was on my dad's side. She's like, now that you say that, she's like, I see it coming in from both sides. She's like, but there's someone, a small woman who's like your grandfather's bringing up with him, and she's reading like the tea leaves. Did someone used to read like the tea leaves, you know, in the cup, like with the cups? And I was like, yes, like Lebanese people do that. So she's like, I'm seeing it coming in through both sides, and they're coming together in like a tree. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like I've never been told that. So that was super cool. But both sides are not airy fairy woo woo. She's like, one's very grounded, one's like rural farmland. But she's like, it's been passed down from both sides of your family. She's like, but it skips generations. And I've also been told that. I've been told that this gift, quote unquote, skips generations. And it was really, really, really interesting that she said that. So anyway, so then she started talking about the future. She's like, I'm pulling the Hermit card, which means that you're going within and you're going to get clarity of what to do in late September or October. And then she kept talking about me not doing one-on-one work anymore. And I was just like, what else am I doing if I'm not doing one-on-one work? But it was interesting. She was like, I see you backing away from one-on-one work because it's not time efficient for me. And everyone knows in business, you do one-on-one until essentially you don't have time to do one-on-one anymore. That's why a lot of people move to group or they move to things because, it's not time efficient. You can only make so much money with one-on-one because there's only so many one-on-ones you can do. And in the same hour that you're working one-on-one with someone, if you have 20 people in a group in that hour, revenue, time, ROI, we don't have to talk about the business side of things. But in my mind, I'm literally constantly thinking, I am maxed out of one-on-ones. I cannot take on any more clients. I'm full every week. You're maxed out with time, with trading time for money. So the fact that she just kept bringing this up, I was like, yeah, I know that. That's why I feel maxed out, because I was like, I can't put in any more one-on-ones. So she's like, I see more classes. I see online. She's like, you're getting ready to shift. And then she started talking about the podcast a little bit more. She kind of was asking me some questions about like the structure of my podcast. She was like, most podcasts fail after 18 months. So the fact that you're like still going is really good. She recommended I release more than one episode a week. And she was like, this is where you can pull in a membership or a Patreon. She's like, you have followers. She's like, you have people that love you. She's like, you need to use that group. She's like, give them an extra episode for, a membership price. Do something extra. She's like, but you ought to have more episodes out. And I was like, okay, interesting. She, again, asked me if I was writing. I've been told multiple times I need to write a book. I'm not writing now, but I've been told a lot that I need to write a book. She's like, not now. She's like, it's not the focus now. And then she kept saying like, okay, what's happening in 5 years? Like, where are you going? Where are you going? She's like, you're going to go within and you're going to get clear. She's like, let go of that shit that's not yours. And then she's like, step back from what you don't want to do. Go for like what fills your heart. She's like, what fills your heart will fill your wallet. She's like, I feel this new energy coming in. She's like, Wheel of Fortune, big change, good luck, twist of fate. And then we started talking about like what really lights me up. And I was like, Reiki. Like, Reiki is my jam. Like, I can teach Reiki forever. I can talk about Reiki forever. I just love Reiki. And she's like, yes, Reiki, that's what you need to do. Like, go do that. And we talked about mediumship because I was like, I wonder if they keep bringing up like this something stuck in my throat because I'm not doing readings, because I'm not doing mediumship readings. And she just like kind of smiled at me. And I was like, I just feel like I can do mediumship readings when I'm older. I have energy now and the drive to teach people. I want to teach people how to help themselves. So anyways, we kind of talked about that. And then she heard the word affiliate link, which is also crazy because literally a week before this meeting, I was looking up how to be affiliates. I was like, I need to somehow monetize the podcast. Like, I need to get things in order to figure this out. She's like, do you have products? And I was like, no. I was like, I just want sponsorship. I want my podcast sponsored. It's been 3 years. I want to get paid for this. And she was like asking about my numbers. She's like, you're getting closer. She's like, I see your growth has been up and down, up and down. It's about to steady out. There's going to be a shift that's coming that's really going to up your numbers. Anyway, she started talking more and more about the podcast and details into that, which again was super interesting because I didn't know I could ask questions about this stuff. Oh, that's like really interesting. And that's a really nice perspective because I've been doing this for so long with, yes, the same kind of outlook on things. And I don't know how to view things differently. And I know I need help, but I don't really know like what type of help I need. Okay, so then she was like, okay, she wanted to kind of move into like the future, what's coming. And she's like, I pulled 4 discs. She's like, joy, happiness. She's like, over the past 3 years, a lot has happened. And true, that's when I moved to Banff. And she's like, be patient, let this all unfold. It's not slowing down. She's like, I see a bullet train. I see racehorses. Things are going forward. Things are moving fast. And then she kept talking about how September is significant. And I'm going to meet someone when I go to Toronto. Again, she didn't know where I was going for the wedding. She's like, I feel like you're going to Toronto and you're going to meet someone with an old school camera. She's like, this might be someone that you already knew before, but there's going to be like some type of interview or something that's going to like really, really help you in your career. She's like, you're going to meet this person and they're going to help you and expand on this. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then at the end, like I said, she's like, I'm going to keep flipping until the next major card, and that will give me a timeline for all of this. She's like, I found it to be super accurate. So she flipped, and then she got 6. So she said 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. So I have no update of the 6 days. I know last week I was like, ooh, let's see what happens. And 6 weeks will be when I'm mid-September, when I'm in Ontario for the wedding. And she's like, I feel like I'm wearing a small coat. She's like, maybe around, I'm celebrating like my birthday. This is also when she was like, you said you're a Libra. And I was like, yeah, that's October. She's like, something's going to be happening around your birthday. She's like, but I'm also seeing my son's birthdays, which is the second week of August. She's like, I feel like something's happening for you sooner. She's like, and I keep showing me the calendar. She's like, you're cutting down on work time. You're going to be working less and making more money. She's like, I see numbers being added into your bank account, but you're not working more. She's like, there's not extra hours. I see someone coming out of left field and helping you out. She's like, it's sooner rather than later. And this is when she started talking about the Toronto thing and the person with the camera. I was like, crazy that you said Toronto. I could be going anywhere. Like, you don't know where I'm from. You don't know anything about me. I forget what I said. And she's like, oh, don't you worry. You can manifest with the best of them. And I was just like, how do you know I'm a master manifester? Like, how do you know all these things about me? And then she went back to this man. She's like, oh, and then she's like, you know, you can manifest whatever you want. She's like, what you want now is different than when you wanted 2 or 3 years ago. Remember, spirit's rolling out that red carpet for you. And then she goes, I don't mean this to be rude. She was like, but do you want to be kind of famous? Like money, fame, you want the voice, you want to be that person. And then I was like, yeah, like I've always thought about that, like having my own TV show. I'm pretty funny. And she was like, you're playing the shell game. You're rearranging. And then again, she went back to one-on-ones because she was like, what do I need to let go of to allow more into my life? And then she was like, I'm not seeing you one-on-one. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, am I completely restructuring? She asked about Reiki and mediumship and master's courses and the mentorships. And we kind of talked about that. It was just super interesting. Like, holy cow, this woman was in my mind. Anyway, we started talking more about Reiki and kind of the structure of that. And she again got the thumbs up of prices. She's like, you need to raise your prices. And then she started talking about kind of Patreon again, bonus episodes. She got more in detail. Again, it was like super interesting, the things that she was saying. I was like, how do you know these things? And then she's like, I see like these shifts happening soon, like sooner rather than later. She went back to that man. She's like, this man is close. She's like, he's close. She's like, I know it's not your priority, but. And I was like, well, I'll always listen to, that kind of stuff. And she was like, he's easygoing. He's good looking. And then she said something again, like, are you in my mind? She's like, he has a credit card. She's like, I see his name, a credit card with his name on it. He's a nice guy, but you're not going to have to carry his ass. And it was funny because she's like, this Venn diagram's coming back again. He has his like shit together. She's like, you don't have to take care of him. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to, he has his credit card, his name on his credit card. Like he has his own stuff. So it's just interesting that she like said things that I've like thought in my mind of, yeah, like I want you to have your shit together because I have my shit together. So I was just like smiling when she said that. And she just kept saying that I'm going to be nudged out of my comfort zone. I'm going to become more seen between now and the end of the year. And she was just like, get ready. She's like, get ready. It's coming. Again, I was like, I know this, but now that you're saying it, it's like, holy shit, this is real. She's like, your business is growing. She's like, exponentially. She's like, I see money coming in that I'm not putting in any extra hours. And then again, she went back to this relationship. She's like, I'm pulling the Daughter of Cups. She's like, you're feeling sexy, desirable, attractive. She's like, you're going to feel good. You're ready to feel loved. She's like, again, Spirit's handing you this puzzle piece that just fits. She's like, you don't have to keep banging on a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. Like, you don't have to make anything fit. They're going to give you the puzzle piece. And you're like, oh, this is the piece that goes here. She's like, your business is kind of going to be on autopilot. She's like, it's going to continue to grow and evolve. She's like, don't worry, but it's going to allow you to do more aspects of other things that you really like. And then she went back to this man. She's like, boy, this man is cute. She's like, and smart. She's like, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. She's like, all right, do you hike? And I was like, like, I don't really have time to hike, but I like hiking. And then she's like, okay, are health and fitness important to you? And I was like, oh yeah, like I go to the gym every day. And she was like, okay, I feel a strong connection with nature with somebody, like a strong connection with health and fitness. Like it's going to be important for both of you. So anyways, and then she had already gone 20 minutes over. So she was like, oh my God, I have to be in my next reading. Like, gotta go, bye. And I was like, bye. I was like, bye. Thank you so much. Oh my God, that was incredible. You're amazing. Wow. And I know she also told me a lot of good things. Like, you're going to make a lot of money. Your business is going to go. You're going to meet someone. You're traveling. You're la la la. But I don't think a psychic should ever tell you bad things. Like, I'm not someone that wants to know bad things. But that was kind of like, it was a whirlwind, and I kept just being blown away by some of the things that she said. Again, specific things. It was very interesting how she delivered this information. So genuine, so intuitive. The cards that she was pulling and how she kind of like rolled her eyes when she would pull a certain card. Like, of course I got this card. Again, you're getting this card. I liked how the same references kept looping back around. 3s are important to me, and they're kept being like this repeating of 3. So that little kid in the grown out shirt came up 3 times. Raising my prices came up 3 times. This man that's going to walk into my life came up 3 times. So there was a lot of like repetition. And again, in psychic readings, being someone who gets this information, when things come up multiple times, that's good. You want that. Like, again, with the raising of my prices, with the podcast, with, business is going to be good, with the red carpets. She said a lot of things multiple times, but they kept coming into her visions or into her intuition for a reason. So I really, really like stuff like that, because when it comes back around and around and around, that's serious. That means something. So I could see that other people maybe would be like, oh, she just said the same things kind of over and over again in a different way. But in a psychic reading, you want that. You want the information to be coming through pretty strongly. And yeah, repetition is always good, because they're not repeating the same thing that they said before. It's coming through in a new way. And they're like, oh yeah, it's this again. Oh yeah, it's this again. So just super interesting. Even just like going back on my notes now and reliving it all, I have a smile on my face. And it gives me something to think about, right? Like, is my voice, am I holding something back? How do I restructure my work? And it's always nice to get someone else's perspective who knows nothing about me, my work, what I do, because that's how you grow and that's how you expand and that's how you get a different perspective. So very interesting. I hope you guys liked that episode. I mean, I would love to listen to episodes like this of other people sharing their experience. We're just 2 friends having a coffee, sharing about what a psychic told me last week. And it's fun. It's fun. I like it. So that's what I have for you this week. As always, if you want to book an appointment with me, I will leave all the links down below in the show notes. August is a little tight. I'm away for a week, and then I have a Reiki Masters at the end of the month, which I'm preparing for and very excited for that 3-day training. I'm teaching Reiki Masters. Yes. If you're one of my students interested in Reiki Masters, please email me and I will get you all the information. And then we are back to work in September after the wedding with 2 Reiki trainings coming in. So all the links you need will be down below in the show notes or themediuminthemiddle.com. If you haven't already, please leave the podcast a rating and a review. It really helps me out in the podcast world. 5 stars and a quick little blurb. I would really, really appreciate that. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, because there's no episode next week, but there will be one the next week. I will see you in your ears and on Instagram. Come follow me over there for some 3-year celebrations next week. But I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you in your ears in 2 weeks. Okay, bye everybody.